Right. Good morning, students. I hope all are doing well. In this class, we are going to discuss about the functions and subroutines. We are going to see what is a subroutine or functions in this class. Already last class we discussed regular expressions and references. You know how to create a reference for any data, scalar data type or array data type or hash data type. Since you know that those are the prime important basic data types present in Perl, so we learned how to create the references to scalars as well as the arrays and as well as the hashes. In this class, by using that knowledge, in this class we will discuss about the subroutines and functions. So after completion of this class, you are able to understand. After completion of this lecture, you must know how to write a subroutine, what is a subroutine, how to define the subroutine, how to invoke the subroutine, and how to return a value from the subroutine, how to use the return statement, passing the arguments to subroutine, and how to treat the local as well as the global variables, and how to write down the recursive subroutines. So these are the few topics we are going to see in this class. So first we will see what is a function or what is a subroutine. In Perl, function, subroutine and method, all these three, function, subroutine and method, all these three are equivalent. So all the three convey the same meaning. So you can use either function or subroutine synonymously, both are one and the same. Coming to the function, what it is nothing but a group of statements that perform a specific assigned task. That is the way how we can define the function. Function is nothing but it is a group of statements that together perform, all those together perform a specific task. That will be the objective. And coming to the here, what is the word we are how to recognize is, you are going to recognize the definition of the subroutine or function with the keyword sub. It will start with the keyword sub. That is the reason in Perl, instead of using functions, normally in other languages we use the word functions. Instead of functions, here we are using the subroutines. So we are calling them as a subroutines. Now see what are the advantages of using subroutines. As already you know that functions increases the reusability. So it enhances the reusability and it increases the readability. You can easily read. Instead of reading the 100 lines of the code, if you are writing the separate functions, and main function is automatically going to be decreased. So that is the reason it is going to increases the readability, it increases the reusing of the code, and also it will be easier with the help of functions. Finding the errors is easy and debugging is also easy. And it also helps us to organize the code in the structural format. It also helps us organizing the code in the structural format, and finding the errors as well as debugging is also easy. So these are the advantages of using the functions. Now we will see how to define the function. Already you know that when we are writing the functions in any code, suppose this is your program. Here you are having some function call, let us say, and after that again you are having the code. Your function definition will be here at this point. Then whenever you are calling the function call, when during the execution, whenever function call occurs, automatically controls transfers to the function definition. After execution of the function, again it will come back and execute the statement which are in line. So that is what I am saying here. Whenever there is a function call, Perl stops executing all its program and jumps to the function to. So from this point it will jumps to the function where it is, and then return back to the section code that was running earlier. So again it will come back and execute the code whichever it was executing earlier. So this is the process how it is happening, like in all other languages, same thing is happening in the Perl also. Now coming to the syntax. What is the syntax? Now see, general syntax is any function is having two things. One is the function definition, another one is the function call. As already I mentioned at the beginning, here we are calling the functions as the subroutine. It will start with a keyword sub. So whenever sub keyword, with sub keyword some statement starts, means you can easily understand that that is a subroutine. So now coming to the syntax, sub is the keyword. Your function definition starts with the keyword sub, followed by a subroutine name of the subroutine, then start of the block of the statement. So this symbol indicates the start of the block of the statement. Now you have to write down the block of the statements. We will generally call it as body of the subroutine. So body of the subroutine is nothing but a block of statements. Once this is over, you can close the statement block with the closed parenthesis. So this is the syntax. Once the definition is over, next part is how to call the subroutine. So how to call the subroutine is, as you are seeing, subroutine name followed by parentheses. If parameters are there, arguments are there, then you have to use the arguments. If there are no arguments, simply you can use the parentheses. So this is the syntax. So please remember the syntax first. Now we will take up an example and we will see. See here, so far we are having the practice of starting with the hello world. At the beginning also we have done the same thing, how to use the compiler, how to write the script. We started our job with the hello world statement. Now also we will continue with the same, since differentiation is easier for us, then you can easily differentiate. So now coming to the function, as you are starting this as a script, so you have to write first this statement. Already you know the importance of this statement. Your Perl is present in the user bin directories. After that, now first we are taking up the function definition part. Here let us say sub is the keyword. As you know that this is the keyword. With this only you have to start. First you start with the keyword sub. Then this is the name of the function. As you are observing here, this is the name of the function. Hello is the name of the function, followed by open parenthesis. And coming to this is the body. This is the body of your function or subroutine. Body here is, it is having only one statement. The statement here is print hello world /n. So this is the statement, this is the body of your function. Now you are closing. So writing the function definition is over. Now next job is you have to call the function. So now coming to the function call, here function name is hello. As already you have seen earlier, how to call the function. Calling the function is nothing but subroutine name followed by arguments. So now see, subroutine name in this case is hello. So you have to call with this hello followed by, there are no arguments. If you see here, we are not passing any arguments, so no need of passing any arguments, simply empty parenthesis. So this is the way how you can call. Now if you execute this, if you run this code, then what you are going to get? Execution start from this point, after that it will come back here, and simply it is a definition part, again it will come here. So when it is coming over here, it will find that there is a function call. Now what it will do, it will move to the definition part. Definition is here, so this is the definition. So here in this definition, what is there? In the body, simply you have to print the hello world. So after execution of this, your answer is nothing but you are going to get hello world. This is the statement you are observing after execution. So this is the way how this function is working. This function is without any arguments, and here we followed the same examples whichever we discussed earlier as a script mode, to understand the script mode, to understand the command prompt. Same simple statement. There simply you are writing as a script, but here you are calling it as a function. Now observe the change. Now see, earlier we have seen the just function definition in the abstract way. Now we will see the full form of the function definition. If you come over and see, sub is the, again we are starting with the keyword sub. After that, this is nothing but a name of the function. Next word is prototypes. Next word is attributes. Last one is the block. So these are the parameters. In a concrete way, all these parameters will be present. Now coming to the individual part, what it is, first we will try to understand each word. Sub is nothing but, as already we know, sub is nothing but, no need to explain. Sub is a keyword, and that is followed by the name of the subroutine. So this is up to this part, sub and name of the subroutine. These are already we are familiar with. Now coming to the prototypes. What is meant by prototypes? Prototypes are nothing but, those are the parameters. What other parameters your subroutine is expecting, that is initiated in the prototypes. After that, attributes. Attributes are nothing but additional semantics. Attributes are semantic. In parallel, we are having three standard attributes. They are locked, method and L value. Those are the three we are having. And what locked, method and L value is, out of these three, locked and method works with the same context. Suppose if you are calling a single thread, multiple thread, Perl is having the same capabilities like your Java. Java, you are having thread programming. In Perl also you can write the threads. Within the function, if you want to send multiple threads, by the time this locked and method will be useful. L value is useful when you want to change the arguments type. Then L value will be, you want to modify the arguments, then L value will be useful. But normally in our course we started with the basics. We doesn't need prototypes and attributes. These are the optional for us. So we are not concentrating on attributes and prototypes. We are interested with the fundamental definition only. We are not going to the deep definition. This is not required for us. These are required, all these are required for the professionals. So when they are using Perl for the industry environment, they are using Perl for the office maintenance, there they want to do multiple tasks. In such a case as each task they will maintain as a thread. All those threads will be called as parameters into the function. Then they are going to use these attributes. In the same way, if they are passing so many parameters, additional parameters, in such a case they will use the prototypes. So in our course we are not going with the prototypes and attributes. We are all the time confined with the basic definition whichever we learnt so far. So try to fix with that only. In textbook you may find all these things. For that purpose just I explained you. Okay. Now see, so far we have seen the how to define the function, how to call the function, what are the components are present in the definition of the function. Now coming to few points. First we will know few points about the few information, few points about the subroutine. Then we will see one by one use cases. Now coming to the subroutine, as already we have seen, they are very flexible and as well as the powerful. And it can be defined. One more important point you have to notice is, it can be defined anywhere in a program. It can be defined anywhere in your program. And already you have seen in the earlier, your definition and function call is present in the same file. It was not the case in all the time. certain time your function definition may be in some other file, you want to use it in your current program, then how to use it? If subroutines are defined in the another file, if they want to use in the current file or current program, how can you use it? By using two keywords, use or require. These are the two statements which are useful for us whenever we want to use the function call, whichever defined in the some other file. Suppose that function was defined in another file, but we want to use it, then we can use with these two words, with these two keywords, use or require statement. With these three statements you can include that function. Suppose you see here math directory or math file is there, in that calc function is there. Now you want to use that calc function into your program, then you can simply require math is the directory or it is the file name where your calc function was there. So simply include that function with the help of these two statements. Both are performing the same thing, but the main differences are require is working at the execution point of time, use is at the compilation time. One is explicit and another one is the implicit. Only these are the differences. Otherwise function wise both are one and the same. You can use either require or use statement. There is no problem with that. And coming to the parallel subroutine, even parallel subroutine can be generated during the debugging time also or runtime also. For that we are going to use the function evolve function. Evolve function is useful to create or to generate the subroutine at the time of runtime. Now coming to the subroutine, it can be called directly or indirectly. While coming to the calling purpose, you can call the subroutine directly or indirectly. If you want to call indirect means you have to use either reference or a variable or a object. These are the three methods how to call the function indirectly. We will see in the later slides. So please remember that your subroutine can be called directly by passing the parameters, or you can call indirectly with the help of the references or variables or the object. Parallel also allows you to create anonymous subroutines with the help of references. By using references, you can create many number of functions. So that is the one more important point we have to observe. Now see, here I am presenting one use case. Use strict and use warnings. You know that these are the two instructions we will use into our program, so that you know further problems can be observed with the help of warnings. And strict is nothing but to avoid the errors. We are going to use those statements. After that, coming to this code, you see my is the keyword. This is nothing but $answer is nothing but a variable. This is nothing but a variable answer. So in parallel, scalar variable will be represented with the symbol $. That already we know pretty well. So here variable is nothing but answer. You are calling a function. You are calling a function prompt. Prompt is called with the help of the variable answer. Next is my second answer. So here you are having this one more variable, second answer. Again you are calling the function prompt. So please notice that here you are calling the prompt function twice into two different variables. Now coming to the definition of that. Sub prompt, sub is the keyword, prompt is the function. With the help of function call we clearly understood that name of the function is nothing but the prompt. So sub is the keyword, prompt is nothing but the name of the function. Now this is nothing but, now we started writing the block. So open brace, print, have we arrived already? So here this is the one statement we are writing inside the function. Have you arrived already? So that is the print statement. So echo will be there. Coming to my answer is equal to std in. chomp answer, return answer. Now you see, compared to this, already we have seen the earlier function. Here three things can be observed. First thing is, earlier is first change you can notice here is, in earlier case we defined the function first, we called later. But here we call the function first. That too, in the upper segment we call the function twice. You please notice here, we call the function twice. Prompt function we called twice. After that, coming to the function definition, after calling the function we are doing the function definition. That's what we are stating here. We are having that flexibility in Perl. Whereas in C you don't find some flexibilities, but here we are having that flexibility. We can having lot of flexibility with Perl. You can use anywhere, you can define first, you can call later, you can call first, you can define later, like that. Now coming to this, again you see, my answer std in. This you are giving from the keyboard. So this is std in is a directive. This is useful to give the input in interactive mode from the keyboard. So from the keyboard you can give the input. This chomp is nothing but it will take the input excluding the next line. So since here you are giving the data as a string data type, end of the line will be known to the system with the help of the enter key. If it is a string data, that will also be represented as a character. So we should not take that as a character, that should not be the part of the string. That's why we have to eliminate that. That is happening with the help of that slash n will be eliminated with the help of the chomp function. After that we are returning the answer. Removing the next line, we are returning the answer. And coming to here, you are having one more keyword, my. The importance of my keyword is, whatever variables we are stating in Perl are the global. Whatever variables you are stating here are the global variables. Please remember, but you want to limit the scope of the variables. You want to limit the scope and you want to make them as the local, means you can use the keyword my. So because of that, the scope of the variable will become the local. So that is the importance of my keyword here, right? So this is the difference. So here, compared to the earlier basic program, multiple calls can be done. So multiple answers can be written, though the question is same. And one more thing is, you can limit the scope of the variable to local with the keyword my, and you can input the data with the help of std in, and you can remove the next lines with the help of chomp function. So here whatever you are inputting from the keyboard, that is the answer. First you are writing, first time calling, you are writing into the answer variable. Second time calling, second whatever you are inputting, that will be sent to the second answer variable. So this is the difference between the basic definition and here. Now we will see the next slide. So in this example, now see how to differentiate the functions in different ways. How to differentiate the calling of the function in different ways. For that, let us take a simple example. Sub is the keyword and here your function is say something. Say something. Now start writing the function. Here print hi, this is the first subroutine. So this is the body of your function. Now this is the end. So your function consisting of a single line, your body consisting of a single line. So this is the body. This is the body of your function. Now see how to call this. You see, in the normal way, it doesn't have any parameters. Say something followed by open braces. This is the way how we are calling the function earlier. Already we have seen. This is the way how we can call. But you see, this is the another way of calling the function. Ampersand of say underscore something. So now the task is, when we can use this ampersand say something, this kind of calling, when we can use. So when we can use this kind of calling is, when we are dealing with the references, if your subroutine name is followed with the reference, then we can use this symbol. Now I will say, as already I know, as already you people know, what is a reference. What is a reference normally? As already you know, suppose you are having a variable. Let us take a simple example. Let us take a simple example. Let us take a scalar. As you know that what is a reference? Please recollect this. Since it is important for us, we are passing the parameters with the help of reference only. What is a reference? As already you know that reference is nothing but a scalar data type. It writes the memory location of the another data type. That another data type can be scalar, or it can be array, or it can be hash. You know this. It can be write the hash. That means suppose let us consider a scalar data. Let us say price is the variable, scalar variable. Let us say price is equal to 100. If you print the price, print price, then what you are going to get? If you print the price, simply you are going to get the answer as 500, right? So this is you are printing the variable. Now I want to write the reference. What I told you, reference is nothing but a memory location. So how to create the reference? How to create the reference is simply your variable must be preceded by with slash. So this is what is how to create the reference. So let us say scalar reference I have created here. Scalar reference, this is so now price is the variable. For the price, now you created the reference. If you save this scalar reference, now if you see the print statement, let us say print slash price. Now what you are going to get now? What you are going to get? Now you can see the memory location. Some 7896 memory location you can find. It is like a pointer data type. Instead of scalar, suppose you want to creating a reference to array, then what is to be done? Procedure is same. First you have to create the array variable. How to know the array? In Perl, arrays are represented with hashes are represented with dollar. Arrays are represented with the @ symbol. Hashes are represented with the percentage. So simply now you create a variable. @ price you can write. Now instead of a single value, you have to pass many values. Now for this also how to create? Same. Now creating the reference is your variable should followed by @ price like this. So this is the way how to create the referencing. Same way for the hashes also. So now you can create the references. Instead of passing the values, now simply you pass the references. You want to access the data value. As you know that this is giving you the hash, these references are giving you the memory location. But you want to access the data at that location means what is to be done? Already we discussed. It must be dereferenced. How to dereference? Dereference the referenced variable. Simply you have to again accompany that with, if it is a scalar means dollar, if it is an array means @ symbol, if it is a hash means percentage. Suppose I want to dereference this scalar reference variable, then how can I get that? Simply what is to be done? Scalar reference variable should be followed with dollar. Then it is now dereferenced. Now you can access the data. So this is the way how we can continue how we can do the process. Now coming to now try to remember this concept. Now we will move to the, so now we have seen how to create the reference and dereference for array, scalar and hash variable. Now we will use the same thing here. As already I mentioned you, there are two ways of calling the function. This is the normal way which we learnt at the beginning. Say something and passing the parameter. If there are no parameters, simply call with empty parenthesis. And another is calling with the, you see, with this ampersand symbol. As already I have explained the importance of this thing. I have explained the importance of ampersand symbol. Now we will see how we can use that here. You see subroutine name. So when we are referencing, as already I mentioned, when we are using the referencing, so when we are using the referencing, then this ampersand symbol will be useful for us. Now see, first we are creating the reference. So reference creation, already I mentioned you, reference creation is nothing but first creating the variable preceded by backslash. So here we are creating the subroutine name with the reference. Subreference is the variable where we are assigning the subroutine name as the reference. Now we want to call that, means now you can call that with the help of the ampersand symbol. So that is the way how you can call the function by using the reference. So this is the purpose of ampersand. Even certain times you can follow the braces also. Braces are optional. If you want to use, you can use, otherwise there is no need to use the braces. Right? Now we will see some more important aspects of the functions. Now we will see, so far we have not passed the parameters into function. Now we will see how to pass the parameters into functions, how to access them. That is the next aspect. So now coming to here you can pass the arrays with the help of the default array variable. So this is the array variable, default array variable, @, symbol, @, underscore, or one more variable. If you want to pass the scalars, means $_. These are the default symbols we will use to pass the parameters into the functions. So we can pass the parameters to a subroutine as the inputs. So how he can pass the inputs and get something out of that. After passing the parameters as per the definition, whatever you define, that is going to be happen. So coming to the all input parameters, they are stored in a special array. All the parameters, whichever parameters you are passing, they can be stored in a array. That array is referred with @_ dot. So this is the way, this is the default way. You have to denote like this only. You please try to remember this. This we are going to use further also. After that, suppose this is a array, you want to access the nth element or nth argument. This we are using for passing the argument into the function. Suppose you want to access the nth argument, means, as you know that indexing starts from 0. So nth argument is nothing but n-1. So nth argument is nothing but n-1. So you have to, each element is a scalar. For that you have to denote, the scalar is represented with the $. So $_ and the index value is nothing but nth index, means n-1. This is the way how you can denote. That's what, if you want to refer to the nth argument, just use the n-1 syntax. When you pass an array or a hash, suppose instead of a scalar variables, if you are passing the array or hash into the subroutine, you have to wait all the elements of the array or hash has to be passed. You are passing all the elements of the array and hashes into the array or function subroutine. The @_ array is used as an alias of the arguments. So instead of writing the arguments, your arguments can be passed into @. Now this will work as the alias to your arguments. Suppose you have done any change to this array, means your parameters also varies. That's what I want to say here. That's what it was written. The iterate array is used as an alias. It is used as an alias of the arguments. Therefore, if you make any changes to the elements of the iterate array, that is nothing but it is corresponding argument changes as well. So this is the important point you have to note down. Now we will see how to use the iterate in passing the arguments. So how it will be useful, as we are saying that arguments can be passed with the array symbol, iterate underscore symbol, instead of passing the arguments into your function. Now we will see. So in this program, as already you know that these two are the common, warnings and strict. Those two are the common statement we will write in all the functions. Now coming to this part, print ampersand of sum 1 to 10. As you know that ampersand will be used as a function call. You please recollect the point. This ampersand means it is nothing but a function call, but that function call is your function name, subroutine name, function name or subroutine name is referred as the reference. That you shouldn't forget. So here sum is the variable. That sum variable refers to a function call. That function call or subroutine call is referred as the reference. That is the clear-cut meaning. So print ampersand of sum 1 to 10 /n. So this is the statement you are having here. Now coming to the function definition. Function definition or subroutine definition starts with the keyword sub. So sub is there. Sum is the function name. This is the name of the function. Now open braces, that is the starting point of the function block, starting point of the subroutine block. Now coming to the inside subroutine, what is there, that we will check. First is my total is equal to 0. That means total is a variable. Since it is a scalar variable preceded by dollar, by seeing this dollar symbol you can easily understand that it is a scalar variable. So my is there, so it is a local variable that is initialized with 0. So this is the initialization statement. Now we are having the for loop here. This is our for loop. What is that for loop? You see, for my I, variable I. Now you are passing into the I, you are passing the array. Here this is the array you are passing. Now open braces. So what is happening, you see, what is the impact of this ampersand of I, array, iterate underscore. This array importance we will see, and I is the index. For, as you know that for my I, and that parameter is with the help of array you are passing. Now see the next statement, total is equal to total plus I. So the purpose of this statement is, the meaning is, here you are using the unary operator, total is equal to total plus I. Already you initialize the total to I, total to 0, 0 plus I. And coming to the I, you are passing that I with the iterate. Already in the sum you passed the parameter with 1 to 10. So automatically iterate will be initialized with 1 to 10. Iterate will be initialized with 1 to 10. So now loop starts means first it becomes 0 plus 1. So that is equal to 1. Now second run it becomes 1 plus, now your I is 2. 1 plus 2 is equal to 3. Now your 3 plus your I is equal to 3. It is 6. Now 6 plus total now became 6. 6 plus 4. Now it became 10. And 10 plus 5. 15. Like this. your total becomes total plus last value is equal to 10. That is the way how things will going here. Finally, what you are returning to the total. Finally, what your total contains, that you are written to the your screen. That is what is happening here. You please remember how this program is working. I think you understood well. So here how we are passing the parameter. We are passing the parameter as already I mentioned A, and this is the default way of passing the parameter. So that's the way how we are passing the parameter inside. Now refercation is, while calling this, these are the parameters, those comes and they refer here. So now this is the way how it will work. Is it clear? I hope everyone is understood.